Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Okay, this time it should be fine. This is the second attempt to do this live stream. I hope it's okay. Let's go together. Let me just check the monitor here. Okay, this time everything is alright. Let's see how this looks here on Ramble. It started. What is this? Let's see what's happening, why it's like this. Okay, here it works too, so it's okay. Let me just... Surely. Is everything working with a little... There will be a delay, of course, because this is a real-time translation, but Actually, it really needs to be a bit delayed. Also, let's see if this translation is decent. Okay, this time it's okay, so we can probably start. Okay, let's switch like this. Maybe let's repeat. Just my introduction. I am the creator and struggling in high tech. Who don't know somewhere like that who are new to my... in social media. And with these leftists, generally I'm talking about what happened there specifically. Either currencies and what I think about all of this, and I also talk about my point of view somewhere. About high tech. Why maybe it's worth being interested in. So, this time, the simultaneous translation seems to be going. It's fair to yourself here. Yes, that's good. I heard it's okay. Okay, so we move on. If anyone has any questions, of course, feel free to ask. Whether it's in... depending on who watches the live stream translated, let them ask questions, excuse me. In English, if anyone. If someone is watching in Polish, let them ask in Polish. Tio Pengzao wrote it. Hey Rudy, it's me. Hello Tio Pengzao. With that in Polish he wrote. As you can see here, everything is going, you know? Everything is going and then, it should be. Here it goes. It's going. Simultaneous translation. I'm working on the same, constantly, whereas in some kind of form it's already. Therefore, I realized that let it just wait better. What's with that? And only yesterday I made a terrible blunder because I was messing with the trenches. Regarding this translation, and I forgot to present the models. About it, he was just sitting on it. To that translation, simply refused to tell me whether I wanted to translate it, you know. Models are practically all censored. If they don't like something, they often just refuse altogether. Performing commands, and this is a terrible mess from that side, but nothing can be done. If a given model is strained like that, you just have to use another one. And I have one like that. doesn't make stupid mistakes, but I forgot to switch it yesterday while I was messing with it and I messed up an entire live stream. And at the same time, and just the day before that. Still the day before, I didn't set up that buffer for the video while streaming and everything got clogged, and there was simply no space for audio to come through. So 2 days, 2 nice backs as they say. But well, today I can see that something is moving in his old post market. Inform. Sorry for this delay, but I see something. I'm just figuring this out. I have a lot more work now with these live streams. Honestly, this whole setup, all this setting up, took a very long time, but if you want more, you have to give more, do more, you know, there is in another option. So, here we have on the chart. Meaning position. No trade like. I would have to do again. I would have to do if I traded it. But I'm not trading it. And lately I've had incredibly amazing luck choosing coins that and the I didn't look at on fire stays care. All of them pop and see. They completely pass me by, but every once in a while. Let's say I'll have such experiences. Also, I've already many times had such that I set myself horses that didn't pump relentlessly. I've also had the other way around, where others didn't. They didn't pump, but I got pumped. So I was on both. Sometimes I'd end up on that side, so CIO Pingza. What? Well, I'm not rate exists on 98. Everyone around 98,000. This is not. Let's say from here, where we are, it's most likely we're looking there. Don't have to, but it's possible because it's just very close. It's not some kind of disaster. To currency, such volatility, have made $24,000 where we were, because there was all-time high, 24 from 124, all-time high, because at 129, $24,000, right? So from 124,000 to 98,000 is really not terrible. Also in the crypto market, we have repeatedly seen something like this. By the way, let me also mention that if anyone is watching this live in English, please take note that this simultaneous translation isn't perfect, and sometimes these models just get a little wrong. They translate, some even translate words upside in combining what is shown on the screen. And what I'm saying will be easily understood, although they don't always do that. They sometimes twist a word there, because they translate it a little differently in that context. Also, that is still, let's say, not quite unraveled yet. You have to go around it. A lot of tricks to use to make it somehow work, especially during live. And I'll even tell you that, even in post-production when you record. Let's say, when you transcribe some material, even these models, let's say those transcribing, and make certain mistakes. As you've seen on YouTube itself, right? When you watch material director often gets some nuances, let's say, that it seems like some word was used not in the context it should be. So, and post-production is easier, you know, in terms of service like real-time translation, meaning translation in time. Real-time translation, so just like that, for that second side, they're translating accident because something like that could happen. So just ask in live if you have any doubts about what I actually mean, what you heard. Because sometimes it might not be exactly like that. However, let's see what we have regarding Bitcoin. What do I have regarding Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin today has even dropped below 100. That's quite a drop below $109,000. Let's be open. However, in terms of expectations, that's how I would say it, quite a drop compared to expectations. It's not really a big drop. Because as I've already noticed, from $124,000 where we were, to all-time high to, let's say, this level where we are now, namely between, let's say, 100, 111, 112, let's say 118, 112, because now it's price trading. It's not a big drop, but considering the expectations, very few people, let's say, that week or 2 weeks ago, he expected to go below 100, 111, 112, including me. I also thought that but market makers started to step in at those levels to wrap up that liquidity, that capital that's there. Because they simply use the derivatives market to make money. On such movements, just like now this story about those 24 is constantly circulating online. Thousands of bitcoins that someone sold on Sunday, 24,000 bitcoins, know exactly in order to trigger liquidation cascades on the futures market, on the leveraged market. So, someday probably short me. At least a tenfold leverage, multiplied by 10, and at the moment when he sold it. So he was actually making 10 times what he sold. Yes, on this spot market. Also, nothing is happening there. Nothing is happening for no reason. Everything has justification here, and therefore that, no, you shouldn't be surprised by such moves Saturday and Sunday, as long as, let's say, it's not illegally to use the weakness of a market in this way. No, that's going to happen, and even I dare to claim that even if it's prohibited by law, then people who are interested will simply go where it isn't forbidden. Because law is never the same around the whole earth, around the whole world. So I see that we still have some people live, so like, share, subscribe. If anyone hasn't done it yet, urgently, and well, if someone is watching on X, it's also natural to ask questions, like liking or reposting. Post, share, and subscribe. And well, let's join in. A little bit longer interval, a little bit bigger candle size here, to have better insight into what's happening, and well, here I was saying. Attention via information, with the information is on declines, as far as it looks like we are within the power of this formation. As if she had actually taken control over the market temporarily and the trade. Potentially, the target could also be an Adam and Eve reversed formation, you know? And here, the potential target would roughly look like this, namely well over $100,000. Yesterday, I said for yesterday, that there was something like that in the game. If we manage to maintain over 100,000, it's still good. Even if we maintain above 100,000, it's always good. Even if we, what those 98,000, CIA pays out reports. He reports that somewhere, let's say in the mainstream, such a level is being talked about. It's not some kind of terrible catastrophe, you know. Let's just say it. What kind of magnitude of movement are we talking about here? It's about 12. We need to drop down from the whole 13%, from the peak to 9. Even at 98, let's say, what we're still really lacking to get to 90 would be minus. This isn't anything beyond the norm on Bitcoin. Such movements, an order of magnitude, something like 20%, is a lot on the Bitcoin chart. For example, here for there, good putting 30. Yes, from that place here to that. Let's think about 32 of those smaller ones, you know. From local peaks we had 32, meaning we only had 32 peaks on this fragment. 2 times 32%. Yes, so you know it's not. It wouldn't be absolutely nothing extraordinary. That's probably around 20. We were even to, let's say, that level. 20 minus 20 minus 20. I don't know, a few percent. So it's like that. This correction is really seasonally large. And as you see, Never before has it been this. In this rally, in the sense that, never, in this particular rally, none of these much larger movements didn't disrupt this upward trend. The market bull hasn't been able to kill it yet. This bull market, so that's how I would say it. And as of now, what we're seeing is much less movement from those that were just now we have just discussed. Just now, I have just pointed out. As of now, there's absolutely no need to panic. This isn't the time. Now, some people are seeing that something terrible is going to happen in September, and even with a good record, as I said, goodbye. But it seems just very unlikely. Something really amazing would have to happen. Equally, that something like that would happen. Yeah? It seems like something really amazing would have to. So we'll have no real chances strictly in September. And I think that even if something, let's say, crashes down, in quotes, it will move a little. I think false. I believe one should treat this as an opportunity to buy. Buying dips, meaning buying lows, and I believe it until November. To really pay a lot. The scenario that I completely don't expect is such a September, we will have some kind of drop, and let's say and this drop will end the bull market for you. I don't see anything like that at all. I completely don't foresee it, and everyone is shocked that something like this happened, completely. I can't imagine something like that at this moment. It absolutely wouldn't make any sense. From any angle, let's say, that I am able to. If this at this moment, it would absolutely have no sense whatsoever. From any angle, the direction the market is moving doesn't change. Despite that, you know, we looked much better than we do now. But I'm saying, it's really within the normal. Also, I see this on the Bitcoin chart, as well as the altcoin chart. We're charting the hard coins. And yesterday's day was a bit ugly too. -6, almost -7% was the drop in volume. On the altcoin charts, aggregated altcoin charts, and today we have a little It would be nice if the reflection were a bit larger, because it's +4.22%. It would be nice if it were a much bigger increase, but there is some. And also the structure itself, however, it's bullish, however. We can see here that it's blowing from the north, trying to push it up. That's what we're after. That's what we want to see. Dominance of Bitcoin, Bitcoin dominance chart, and that. No, we also had a bit of an independence-related disruption yesterday, which is visible in this candlesticks daily, and today this independent uprising is being tested. It's very clearly visible that I'm being completely negated, maybe even if it succeeds today. As you can see, TradingView is again removing my trend lines that I had here. My trend lines which I use, I now have to set them live on air. Yes, as it stands so far. We've been trying to break above 58.6%. On the daily candle we were wiped out, weren't we? Wiped down. And moreover, even the body of today's daily candle is visible that it's trying to hide yesterday's candle. And if that works, then really. It wouldn't be a perfect bottom D. It would be very nice if that happened. It's completely unnecessary, because we're below 58.60. Below that level of 58.60, which I've been saying for a long time ago, that's going to be that level that will relatively count because either of the graphs we see that quite a lot has happened around tangency points, so naturally. Algorithms, analysts would pay attention to this, right? Let's see how the dominance of Tetra looks. So the largest stablecoin in terms of capitalization. Cult of the currency, and here we also had a reflection of the 407% level, which had been visible for some time, that it was leaning a little towards that. As now, we have intuition of this reflection. It seems like restarting to emerge. Pay attention to the fact that in the orderly first phase of this reflection, had a really very steep rise up. Then we started to have a little bit of trouble. Here has a reason. This strongly decreasing daily candle, as you can see, it was how much this reduction was. Over 5.5% was a reduction, and in the following day, and now we again see quite a good thing. Highlighted, let's say, daily candle. Yes, yes. Sharply, however, as if we were looking at the candle itself. On the very peaks, on that distinct formation. So, at this moment, so that we maintain higher peaks, but if we look a little more to the left, we see that the previous peak, even before the decline, was much higher. And so, generally speaking, as far as peak is concerned, before we had that bounce from the 407 level, so, to consider it, let's say it's an attempt to return. I'll have to look at this fragment, this little piece of the picture, but as soon as we slightly deviates. Note widzimy, że jeszcze czasu tutaj nie weszliśmy, tak, że jest jeszcze work to be done, and that peak must be overcome, so that, and we're hoping here that Tetra's dominance, i.e. USDT, it started to look better, and of course nobody wants that, because it would mean that both Bitcoin and altcoins will have to keep waiting before they figure out some a consistent cleaner uptrend. So, as I repeat on every live stream, it's one of those charts though. And so basically, the dominance of Terra, Theta, and USDT, NATO and RTT. Minence is one of these two charts that we're looking at, and it's the dominance of Tether and USDT. Like it's the worst, yeah. If we want stablecoins to give us, to eat. To be well fed. So yes, good. Let's look at this again, because today we have... Let's see how the traditional market is doing. Let's look at the S&P 500. Today's earnings on the S&P 500 look good. It's green as you can see. True, we didn't make an all-time high, but we recovered the entire drop. We recovered the entire drop from yesterday, so it looks very good, and that's how we closed. We closed with a very nice green candle on the 15-minute interval, very well. It looks good, I must admit. Basically on the 15-minute interval we have very clear pain here like I had marked. I think that probably no one will. Nobody was really arguing about it being something different. So, as things stand, it looks like the rest of the day for the S&P 500 will. That Bitcoin and crypto should also quite well. Feel. But whether it will like this, we'll see, because sometimes, unfortunately, it detaches not in the way we want from S&P. It's correlated. Sometimes it's correlated with declines. It won't be this case. As can, someone hasn't done it. And anyone have any questions? Of course, if there are any questions from the English-speaking side, please ask them too. If there are any questions in Polish, please ask. Everything is I see here on my phone for those who are watching the live stream in English. Those who are watching Latin Life in Polish. RTT. Also, those. You can freely participate in the live stream, and there will be no long wait. Okay, let's see what else we can talk about here. Don't let me go wild too. At least, as was Lingham last time, we'll see. No. Now they've kind of lost their nerve. As you've seen, before I refreshed coinglass.com. No, that was much higher, they were over 200 million, but now, after I refreshed, no, they kind of fizzled out. But still, Bitcoin's you see it's over $108 million. The liquidation of Ethereum longs, surprisingly, was happening in long positions. Delicately more shorts liquidated like longs, which I wouldn't really expect. But that's probably because Ethereum, now it's at least somewhat recovered. Also, well, crypto traders, grid, index, from yesterday, because remember that this, always these results that are shown here on coinmarketcap.com. Regarding the crypto fear and grid index, they are actually 1 day delayed. At 43, it's down by a whole point compared to yesterday. And basically when you look at crypto babas, it seems green. Quite green. No really big pumps, NMR. It has a pretty big increase and it's this coin that I had set up at the beginning. Which one I wasn't trading, and I wouldn't have. Very nice rate currently. Although plus 26% what could. Pay attention that behavior of Professor Kixie Stout was very unclear. That something would come of it, but yet. And ultimately, it turned out that the decision gives me to stay in this winning position. Yes, well, here initially, it wasn't going well. One could have had doubts whether one should remain in this position. And now, and it's something, definitely. He didn't dismiss it. And as for the whole rest of it that I saw, it is, let's say, at some early stage of reversal and end. Here there he's negating some kind of speculative trap that potentially could have started to emerge. So, to put it simply, I would say, at the very last moment, before I just had confirmations regarding downward trends, but today he negated it. But hey, as far as I'm concerned, there isn't really much of a very spectacular. It's just on that point. And I don't know what this is entirely. It seems to be something related to it too. With trading through artificial intelligence, but I'm not sure. Maybe. I completely got confused with something else. Well, what else can we? Let's talk about this here. It seems like, taking into account. It seems crypto babbles now. Well then today it has to be better regarding crypto. This is very cold because, well, we have Bitcoin at a price level of $110,000. The crypto fear and greed index is at 43. That's very low. That's really, really low, right? Again, in terms of percentage, we're really close to all-time high. Here even from. We're now at this on-time high. How much are we missing from 11? Now we'll see from here up to now. No 12%, yes, some 12%. Isn't wrong about that at all? No. That's surprisingly low, isn't it? That's really surprisingly low. High of all-time high. At the highest historical level, and so we should have something like that here. The level of fear is simply completely negating the rule of market operation, so. Because it's always individual investors who provide the initial liquidity. is a high level of fear that there isn't that individual investor and no one to provide liquid, and that means that we really should be safe. We should be 100% safe. Safely before any big movements down. The only scenario I see. That despite this small liquidity, despite the lack of recipients, let's say those high valuations in the form of an individual investor, as it usually happens here. Usually the only scenario that allowed the drops now is something really terrifying. What could happen on the global arena? Yes, if something really terrifying. Therefore, let's say, even big players have a fly on their heads and completely don't know what to do with that. They completely can't imagine what the effect will be. Then yes, then they can just throw everything away. Sell everything without looking at how much they're overpaying in so-called spreads. You save yourself if you can, yes? So then yes, so we real that situation on the global arena, so that such a thing happens, I don't think so. That it's not so bad yet. And so yes. Okay, we are on X and let's see what we have here on X in the meantime. Let's see how this is presented here, what they're writing to us. What news do we have from the cryptocurrency market, anyway here? Inmonger notes that at a level of $120,000, we have a very large liquidity accumulation, meaning generally low liquidity across the entire market. So if someone wants to make money, they have to go for that liquidity, right? If we're considering the perspective of large players, they have to go after this type of liquidity. That means they will be covering their short positions, yes. It was time to cover long off the TradFi. On the third page of the course, and this in turn automatically means that one has to go up this time. Okay, let's see what we have further on. Alem Sadek is writing Uptember. Uptember meaning September will be good. That is of course paraphrasing, how in English? September. It is of course September, meaning it will go up. Statistically isn't a good month when it comes to seasonality, but it doesn't mean that's the case. That won't be the case this year. Maybe it will be good. Statistics have it that whatever happens, even if it happens with some very strong regularity, the possibility increases that this time it will happen differently. It's important to remember about the statistics. Okay, what else do we have here? Wozniak said that every time Bitcoin has declines, I will buy it. This is of course a quote that was brought up by Trending Bitcoin. In how much was it? It was 3 hours ago, right? Here, we also have an entry. And then, it tracks global liquidity. The accumulative phase of Ethereum is. It's a story and now we are in the phase. Bull market on Ethereum. And the thought that this isn't hype this time, that is not hype anymore. Opium is, of course, a combination of the words hope and opium. That's probably the most popular, at least through the crypto market it seems to me. What are you singing to the Americans? So $18 billion in Bitcoin worldwide. If Bitcoin reaches a price of $125,000, it will be liquidated. That's a remarkable number, such as $18 billion. Redma, I know the shade see that. It was the 20. Bretman said the 25th. So yesterday. That Bitcoin will never fall below $110,000. And he said, write this down. And he did manage to hit it, because we went below $110,000. But you can see for yourselves why liquidations have increased so much, because it was seen there was such an assumption, it was such a widespread conviction that we won't see prices lower than 110,000. That had to be a really huge amount. Positions lingering somewhere around there in those areas, and it was a tasty end. And we were very close to betting on such a innate. The barrier won't fall. It's incredibly risky. Okay, I don't even know what that is about Coinwall. And that markets, trading markets. I don't know what Mancha is at all. That it shot up. That's probably some kind of stock, I think, but I'm not sure. What Mancha is. Markets have gone up. Probably the market investigation in the United States will be published. I don't know what that makes. Here Crypto Goose is again quoting. Ethereum versus Bitcoin, this time on a 3-week candle. And he notices that Supertrend is one of those algorithms. Let's say it is used by a fairly large cluster. Trader off somewhere there, let's say, as a supplementary material. They use it on in such a typical intervals, just like a crypto scammer for instance. He noticed that we had reversed on the super trend. We turned green. I mean, it faded out. We turned green. That should signal that Ethereum will have a really very good time. Domain Romsko wrote, see you later, cheers. Hi Domain Romos. I don't know why I wanted to say hello to you, Roman. Okay, you're named Roman really, hehe, because of Ramson. That's what I associate with Roman, but well, you have to. Domain here needs to explain to me what you're asking about with these specifics. What is a specific word for you is known to everyone. Now I will of course remind you that the cause generally of my feed on social media is of course my meme coin named Hightech. Look. Just to look at it here, and everything I do regarding social media is really as some background to boost the brand. Regarding this asset, this meme coin, and consequently